So welcome back to the road to 10k, turning £1,000 into £10,000 by flipping cars. Now after fixing and selling the two Subaru Imprezas that we did last, we ended up with just under £7,500 in the bank. Now with that money I actually bought a barn find Audi S3 which had been off the road for 9 years, and we got this for £2,250. So in the last episode we pulled it into the unit and we checked over the whole car, and it was definitely showing signs of a car that had been sat for 9 years. But the good thing about this car, it come with a bunch of parts in the boot. So in the last episode we've started fitting all of those to get this car back to its former glory, and that included a timing belt, a bunch of suspension parts and a bunch of service parts as well. But we're still quite far off from having this car fully fit because we still have some really unwanted noises.
It's not a car you want to be changing a clutch of.
So we've got a huge day today, totally rejuvenating this Audi S3 and taking it for its first ever drive. Good morning, so we are back with the S3, and today I'm actually planning on taking it outside for a drive, because in the last video you'll see we did the timing belt, and once we started it the release bearing was making a shit ton of noise, and it's pretty scary, and I definitely don't want to be doing a clutch. So we want to drive this as soon as possible to rule out if it does need a clutch and a release bearing or not. So today we're going to be getting it up and ready to be taken outside. So I'm going to finish off the last few jobs before we can drive it. So we've got to fix up the subframe, check the rear arms, we've got to do the Haldex service on the rear diff. We've got to do some other little bits and bobs. We probably have to do some kind of a service in terms of the spark plugs. We're going to have to put all the front of the engine back together as well, so we've left off a load of timing chain covers and other little bits like that, boost pipes and stuff, and change the rear brakes and things like that as well. And then we take it for a spin and pray we don't have to change that clutch because it is a big job. As you can see here, the top of the engine is a little bit messy. So first of all, we're going to take out the spark plugs because I've actually got no idea in what condition these plugs are in. I don't know if they've been changed, because a few other things have been changed on the car since it's been parked up. Like that's got a new ball joint on and some other little bits and bobs. So we're going to pull out all the coil packs and just double check the spark plugs. And if we need some, we're going to order some. Now we all know I love big engines, and especially V8s, but doing spark plugs and coil parts on a V8 is annoying. Doing it on a little 4-cylinder like this is really easy. Now I did initially think that we had a rocker cover leak, but from what it looks like to me is that it's all around this bit here, and then it kind of spreads out. So to me, I think it's where someone's put oil in it and it's just seeped down, and then it's just ran down the rocker cover, because it doesn't actually look wet anywhere, it just looks like old oil. Okay, yeah, they are new. They're new plugs. Bit black, I mean it's been running a little bit rich, but it's not really gone for a proper drive really. Now one thing that has been off the car since we bought it and we've not ran it with is actually the boost pipe. Now this was the biggest red flag for me when I picked the car up. Why was the boost pipe off? Now everything so far the guy's actually been pretty legit on, to be fair. So initially I was a little bit worried. I was like, for the sake of just putting a boost pipe on so it runs properly, surely you would just do that. But to be honest, everything that the car says it has, the car has. The guy's been honest about everything so far. So I think let's put the boost pipe on, fire it up and see if it runs any better. I mean that's running a hell of a lot smoother. So we've got the map sensor on now as well, so it's going to be measuring that air that's being sent around the whole system now. Now the release bearing has just shut up, but I have no doubt that when I press the clutch, it's probably going to come back. But the fact it's actually going quiet and coming loud and going quiet makes me think that once we drive this car, hopefully, once it gets the oil around it, or once it's just removed some of the surface rust that might potentially be on it, it might constantly be shut up. Now this car is still running on fuel for God knows how long it's been in there, so we will be putting in some new petrol. I've got some petrol over there, so we'll throw some nicer petrol in it before we go for a drive as well, but we've still got to check engine light, so let's go and see what that is saying. Right, so we're going to do a full scan of the car. Finding it, it comes through as an Audi Saloon, and I had to tell it exactly what engine it was, so... Oh my god! Oh no, it's not a good start. Oh no. I think we're definitely going to clear these, start it and go again, because 13 engine control module faults is not ideal. And it's not driving like it's got 13 engine control modules faults. So they might be history ones. So I think we're going to definitely 100% clear this first of all. Now we're getting hundreds of codes, but the battery's been off and everything has been unplugged at some point in its life. So these will just be codes from previous ones, or they'll be false codes. So we're going to do a full clear of the codes, and as you can see, we're getting nothing up on the dash, so it's a good start. Now we're getting two codes. One is an O2 sensor, which is what it is. The second one, bank one sensor one as well, so that's pre-cat, which is the one we need, which is annoying. The other one is camshaft position sensor out of range. Now, annoyingly, I just went and spoke to Steve and I said, does that mean it's out of time? And he says, is it tough to start? I said, yeah, it starts on like the third go. He says, yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit out of time. So the cam and the crank, I'll get Steve to give a bit of an overrun, but the cam and the crank talk to each other. And if it's slightly out of time, obviously the engine will run fine. But after a couple of cranks, it will ignore one of them and just fire up. So it is kind of in time. It might be like half a tooth out where the cam and the crank sensor aren't perfectly talking to each other. So annoyingly, we do have to access the timing belt again. But Steve says he's got a special tool, which we can do it all in situ, and we don't have to take the timing belt off. All I've got to do is just take that engine mount off, timing cover off, and then he's going to come and use that tool. So thank God for Steve. So we're going to access the timing belt again, which is a little bit annoying, especially on this engine, and dealing with the timing belt on this engine is a pain in the ass. It's just so tight. So we've got to take off everything. The boost pipe, we've got to take off all the things at the side as well, like the power steering, reservoir, and the evap system for the fuel. And we've also got to take off the coolant bottle as well. And then we've got to also remove that pain in the ass engine mount. And once we've jacked the engine up, we've got access to the timing belt again. Okay, so I've got access to the timing belt. Now Steve has given me this little tool here, which is a long bolt but with a threaded washer. And what the idea of this is that in here we've got the tensioner, and the tensioner has a thread on it. Now this is going to be really fiddly, I think. So we've got to thread this into the tensioner, and this washer is going to press onto the little fork on the tensioner. And then we're going to thread it down, and it's going to release tension off the belt. I think it's going to be extremely fiddly because right now I can barely even see it. So there's a tiny little thread there. Now I've got to thread this bolt into there, which is extremely tricky to get the thread, and I just do not want to drop this, especially on the inside of that timing belt cover. This is scary, guys. No way. Got it. Now this was extremely fiddly because you actually had to turn the washer by hand onto that lever arm, and not gonna lie, it took bloody ages. So before I take the belt off, I'm sticking a screwdriver in piston number 1 and turning the crank until it's at top dead center. The timing marks on this engine are really hard to see. There's one on the flywheel, which is silly in my opinion because that rusts out and you can't see it. And there's one on the fan belt pulley, which is just stupid as well because you can't even see that. So I'm getting it pretty bang on with the screwdriver, and then we're gonna get Steve to come and look at the flywheel while I turn the crank. Now putting this belt on is super hard because the belt is so tight. So when you're trying to get it over the cam puller, it moves out of time, which is probably what's happened. So me and Steve, we two-manned it. I held the crank tight while Steve had a special way of getting the belt on because honestly, it is so tight. This makes this job almost impossible. Right, thank you to Steve. We are now in time. This is a bitch of a car. So, I'm gonna pull this peg out, pull the bolt all the way out. I'm going to fire it up and make sure that correlation code isn't there. Right, before we fully bolt everything back together, I'm going to start it and make sure A, it runs, and B, it runs nicer. Now it's actually quite late here and I'm editing this video still, and I'm struggling to focus a little bit, so I've just grabbed a holy drink and I thought this would be a good time to tell you guys, as I've literally been telling my friends for a good year about this. Now this is an energy drink designed specifically to help you lift your mood, focus, and stop you feeling like a miserable bastard, which I have been struggling with for
quite a while in my life actually. That bad, I was actually on an extra strong vitamin B12 tablets for a good year and a half. I went through a stage of my life where I was honestly this close to quitting YouTube because I was just so down and low all the time, and I attributed to it to be YouTube. That's why I jumped on them vitamin B12 tablets, and they did help. But when I found out that Holy have the same amount of vitamin B12 and 13 other different vitamins and nootropics designed specifically to lift your mood, I came off the tablets and I switched to a delicious drink like this instead. Honestly, it's unbelievable. Genuinely drink these every single day, and I have been doing since I found out about Holy from last September. And the best thing about it is their tagline as a company is zero bullshit, which means it's got no taurine, no sugar, and no added flavour as well, which means you can have a boost and you won't get any of the lows. Now, this is probably my newest favourite flavour. I have a scoop of pina colada energy and then a scoop of watermelon hydration. Taste insane, and I can't even tell you how many of my friends I've got on this stuff.
They do a ton of flavours for energy, a ton of flavours for hydration. They've also just released a ton more flavours of their iced tea dedicated to SpongeBob SquarePants. And I've just released this flavour today, but they have hundreds of other flavours on their website, and I would recommend getting one of their starter kits. You can pick and choose what you want, and you can tailor-made your own first set of Holy Energy before you get addicted to it, and you will. And don't forget to use my discount codes on screen.
Okay, that was scary, but it was a ratchet still on the crank. Send it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, lads, I'm really not enjoying working on this. Every little thing has got, it's like doing a jigsaw, and I don't like jigsaws. Every little thing has got the exact way it needs to go. If you don't put something on the right, you've got to go back about 10 steps to get it the right way. Like I've had all this, because if you put that in first and you can't get that on, if you can't get that on, then you can't get this on. If you can't get this on, then you can't get this little bracket on. So if you miss this little bracket, you've got to take this, that, everything off, and to put it on again in the right way. So unless you've done these cars 100 times, you end up spending so much time just going back on yourself and just repeating shit you've already done. So it's showing one engine control module fault. I'm going to guess that is the O2 sensor, the fault that was there before. So that would make sense why it's slightly misfiring, because the fueling's going to be off if the O2 sensor's gone. It's idling fine, but you can just say a slight misfire now and again. It's like pop pop. Yeah, so we got one code, which means all the time it's good. O2 sensor, heater control, bank 1, sensor 1. So that's pre-cat lambda, which is on the downpipe. You can actually see it in the downpipe. Used to working with cool engines. Jokes. It's on the manifold. Actually, downpipe, I don't fucking know. Yeah, same thing. I'm thinking like downpipe off a V8, you know? Oh, that's a what do they call them off a V8? Headers. The header. I'm joking. All engines are cool, unless it's a Ford engine. Yeah, so we need to fix that lambda sensor. Now I am starting to slowly lose the will to live with this car. It's been off the road for so long that everything's just a pain in the ass. Like I'm just trying to change this other side drop link and all the bolts are just rusted and seized together. So I'm sat here with a grinder trying to grind off this bloody drop link with a race suit covering my arms. One of the worst parts of the car is the rear subframe. It is looking very sorry for itself. Now the rear diff bushes are actually pretty good, and most of the bushes on here are actually pretty good as well. It's just it's starting to get a little bit rusty with where it's sat for so long. Now I remember I saw my subframe on my S14 and it was absolutely horrendous, 10 times worse than this. I thought there'd be holes everywhere. Now I actually got it sandblasted and there were no holes anywhere. So when you see something like this, it looks a lot worse than it is just from how flaky it is. So I've got a tool called a needle scaler and it's unbelievable. It's like a load of metal rods and it's designed specifically to clean up rust like this. It's called cauliflower rust. It cauliflowers out, it makes it look really bad, but the actual metal itself is pretty strong really. So we don't really want to be getting a new subframe, but we also want to make it a little bit nicer. So I'm going to get the needle scaler and I'm going to start cleaning up all of this rust.
Now, if you deal with a lot of rusty cars, buying one of these is amazing, and I wish I got one of these sooner. It clears up rust so fast, and after getting my S14 subframe done, I spoke to some powder coating specialists, and they said that a lot of the time it just looks rusty because it's called cauliflowering, and most of it is actually fine under that cauliflower. So let's see how good we can get this one up. So I've actually got the subframe coming out looking pretty good, which I'm happy with, because we definitely didn't want to buy a new subframe, or this would quickly turn it into a restoration. I've actually got the rear arms looking pretty good as well. Now, I've managed to get this lower arm on eBay for pretty cheap. It was like 2 for 50 quid. So I've done that, and I am struggling to find the uppers. So what I'm going to have to do is just tidy up the upper control arms and just change these rear ones. Realistically, I don't really need to change any of them because they're actually coming up pretty good, but them bushes have been on quite a while. So I'm going to change what I can, which is within budget, and those lower control arms, we can get them, and they are within budget, so we're going to change something. Now, what we're going to do is, these are really hard to get, these lower rear trailing arms, so we're going to tidy them up. I've not really touched them yet, so we're going to start tidying them up then, and we're going to clean up these brake lines as well. As you can see, I've already started wire wheeling them back to bare metal, and then we can put some coat or some hammerite on them as well. It's going to be a hell of a lot better than what they were, because they were just starting to show a little bit of surface rust, and I've cleaned that off so we can get some hammerite on them and tidy them up. But for now, I'm actually going to start doing the rear diff, because we need to do the Haldex service, and right now I have no idea how to do it. Now, we are going to rust treat and paint those rear arms on the subframe, but I just want to get this Haldex service done before I start painting. So, in the back of the car, we actually got some Haldex oil as well. This is some VW genuine Haldex oil, and we also got a genuine VW Haldex filter as well. Now, the Haldex actually controls the rear wheel drive, so it's not a full 50-50 split. So the Haldex kind of kicks in and comes out to control that rear wheel drive. I think these are predominantly front wheel drive, and then the Haldex kind of kicks in, maybe like a 70-30 split, so they're not true all-wheel drive. To get underneath the car, I have no idea how to do this. I've never even touched a Haldex thing in my life, but I don't think it's that difficult. So we've got this thing which looks like a plug, but I've been told it is actually a filter in there. And then this is quite watery stuff, so hopefully this isn't too difficult. So the first thing we've got to do is drain the old fluid, and just in front of the subframe here, there is a little 5mm hex. And somewhere at the top, I've not found it yet, but that's where that plastic filter goes. So we're going to have a good look. Well, first of all, let's drain all of this old oil. Oh, that's like brand new. It even smells new. Look at the colour of that. Just tucked just behind there, you can see the Haldex filter, and you can see it. Now, it's going to be very interesting to try to get this off, I'm not going to lie, but leave it with me. Now, I was looking at that filter and I was thinking, how the hell does that come off? And I went and asked Steve. He said, oh, there's a special tool. And he's given me this boomerang of a tool, which is specifically removed for Haldex filters. Without this tool, you will not be getting this filter off. So just before you try to attempt this, make sure you've got one of these. Okay, it's off. The oil definitely looks dirtier here, which is good to see. I'm struggling to get this damn tool out. There she blows. Right, let's get the new one in. Now, is this one of those where we just nip it up by hand like an oil filter, or do we tighten it with the tool? Okay, so weirdly enough, there's no fill plug. You just put this up the drain plug and then hope it doesn't piss out everywhere, I think. And then you've got to be quick and then to swap it over again. So I've already tightened this, so I'm going to take it back off. So, oh, there's still more in there. So yeah, not sure how this is going to go, but it's going to go. So yeah, I just got a really long extension, and it's like a plunger, so I just plunged all the oil up into there, and yeah, I think the official way is you just got to just pull it out and put the bolt on pretty quick. So it went pretty to plan, actually, so I'm happy with how that went. The rear brakes are horrendously bad, so we're going to be changing those because we've got disc and pads in the boot. Now, while we're there, we're going to take that top arm. So I've ordered those lower control arms, which is good. But while we're here, I'm going to take off the top control arm. And since I can't really buy those,
I've not really found any. A load of places sell the lower ones, or the upper ones are like superly expensive. So it has to be a right balance between making the car good and also still making profit. So, you know, yes, if it was a restoration, we would change the subframe and change every single arm on the car and do all brake lines. It's not a restoration. We're here to make money. As long as it's safe, MOT worthy, and better than we got it, it's good news. So we're going to take off that top lower control arm, we're going to clean it up off the car, and we're going to give it a lacquer paint with some anti-rust primer and some like hammerite, just to make it look a little bit better. We're not going to take the trailing arms off because we're talking the big deals then it's subframe off and all this kind of stuff, and then you're taking every single arm off. It's too much. We're going to clean it up on the car with the wheel off and anti-rust primer it and hammerite it. We're going to coat those brake lines as well. So, wheel off. Oh, there's no brake pads in there. There's no brake pads in there. What the hell's happened to them? No wonder the brakes felt bad. There's literally no pads in there. It's annoying because these discs look brand new. I can still see the cross hatching from the machining, but they've just been on there for so long and obviously not been working because there's no bloody pads. That we're going to change it. So just whack them off. I'd love to know the story of why there's no brake pads in here. These aren't seized today. Oh, that'll be a pain. If these are seized, then we'll have to rebuild them. Look, nothing in there. You know what? I'm actually glad the piston hasn't popped out. It almost has popped out. Hopefully it winds in alright. Hope so. So you can see how the arm actually isn't that bad at all. Once we get a wire wheel on that, it'll come up looking really good. And we'll be happy with that. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. If I wasn't doing this on YouTube, I wouldn't even change them lower arms. But, because they're actually alright. If it was my car, I wouldn't even worry about it. But because I'm doing it on YouTube and it is going to somebody, so we'll change that lower on, we'll take this top one off, show you how bad it really isn't, and we'll give it a lick of paint. Okay, I'm not sure what discs these are, because they're way too big to go on the back. They're not rear discs. I don't know what the hell these are, but now we have to buy some discs. Great.
So for some reason, the pads that are in the boot were correct for the rear, but the discs were definitely not. I actually looked at the box and it said it's for a Ford Focus Mark III. So I'm not entirely sure what they are. The previous owner actually did message me and he was like, oh, how are you getting on? I said, well, the discs, what the hell are them discs? And he said he ordered the rear disc for this car, so someone must have messed up anywhere. So it doesn't matter, but we'll have to order some new rear discs. Just an extra 50 quid on the budget. Damn.
Okay. Let's see if these are seized. Please don't be seized. Please, please, please. Oh, it's been a few years. Okay, it's not a good start. Oh, it's not looking good. One sec. I'm pretty sure it's seized. So I've took it off. I'm going to press the brake. And if it's not seized, the fluid should push it out. Bollocks. Right, as I was trying to pop this piston out, this one has just bloody popped out. So I'm guessing there's no pads in here. No, there's not. Well, at least this one's not seized. Oh, for God's sake.
Now, luckily enough, I did actually manage to rebuild this piston with it on the car. The piston popped out, but the seal actually stayed in place. So it is quite tricky to get the piston inside the seal, but it's a lot easier trying to do that than bleeding all the brakes again and taking all the brake lines off. So it was a bit tricky, but we managed to get this side in. But now we've got to turn our attention to the other one, which is completely seized. Now I do want to keep this piston on the car because it just saves you running into other problems with broken nipples or broken brake lines, so we're bringing out the big guns.
You know.
Now it is absolutely not budging, so we're going to have to take the caliper off and get it in a vise so we've got something nice and sturdy to lever that piston out. So first of all, we've got to remove the handbrake and we've got to remove the brake lines as well.
Right. Got to clamp down. Pray we can get a spin in now. Just grab onto the end, you'll be fine. Don't grab onto the main bit of the piston. There we go, she's moving. She's moving. Don't feel good at all. Right, Here she comes. It'd be interesting to see what's going on here. I mean, this actually might be a new caliper. That thread might be ruined in there. Or it might have all snapped. I have a feeling that might have all snapped with it. Oh, we're here. There she is.
Now, after inspecting the piston itself and the threads on the piston and in the caliper, everything seemed fine. So I'm going to put the seal back on and I'm going to try and wind it back in. And for some reason, it ended up going in quite nicely. So yeah, we're going to reuse it.
Oh, lads, he's only gone and f***ing done it. I mean, I've totally bent my my tool in the mean run, but it's fine. They're cheaper than a caliper. Still gonna send it.
So it's a case of installing the new disc that we actually got from a car parts store around the corner. I think it cost me like 50 quid for 2 of them. Then we put the new pads on which came with the car, and then we can finally put our new rebuilt, well, second-hand rebuilt caliper back on. And now I can turn my attention back to the subframe and the control arm. So I'm going to try and take this top one off to clean it up.
Oh, damn. She's tight.
Now the bolts on this car are not really rusty, but they're just kind of been seized together. So everything's just like really tight to loosen away from each other. And it makes jobs like 4 times as long dealing with bolts like this.
Here we go. I'm tightening it there.
You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Look at the state of me. Look at the state of this.
Yeah, not bad. Just trying to get this bolt out this arm. Oh, nice. Thank you very much, Audi, you wankers.
So to me, that looks like we're going to clean these arms up on the car because I am not messing around with that subframe.
Now we could really easily leave the subframe like that, but for the sake of £10, I've got a can of Hammerite. Now this is direct to rust metal paint, so it's almost like a, whoa, the lights just went. So it is basically a rust converter, but it's also coloured. So this is brush on, which is going to make it super easy to get to the subframe. We're only really going to do the bits we can see, well, everywhere we can get really. So as you can see, it's all surface rust. That's pretty much metal now with a little bit of coating still on there. So we're going to cover it all with some of this. It's going to make it look a little bit nicer, and it's also going to make it last longer as well before it starts rusting through. Won't completely get rid of the rust, but it will stop the rust doing its job. Now this is thick steel, so to rot through a subframe takes a lot of effort. So this subframe is going to be good for many, many, many years going forward. So let's get this on, brushed on, let's make it look nice.
So as I've always said by doing this series, we're not here to make the cars perfect, we're here to make them better within budget. Now I didn't get an incredible bargain on this car, and there's not going to be a ton of profit in it. So, I mean, this is going overkill. I mean, you don't expect to buy a 25, 30-year-old car and expect them to have brand new subframes on. So I think we're going above and beyond here, and it's going to look a hell of a lot better. Now before I show you the finished product of the subframe, I'm going to wait till the new rear arms are on and I'm going to show you as a complete unit. So in that meantime, we're going to bleed the entire brakes and we're going to flush through the entire system because the brake fluid in those front lines must have been on there for God knows how many years.
And just as I was cleaning the bolts to go back in the rear, we have our arms. Now I hope these are going to be right. We got good reviews, and I actually ordered these on eBay yesterday at like 3 p.m, 4 p.m, and they've just arrived before 12 today, which is unbelievable. So shout out to that company, because these are quite hard to find. Like I even couldn't get them at like GSF or anything either. So let's hope they're right.
So it's out with the old horrible control arms and in with the shiny new ones. Now these are not from Audi, so you might find little tiny differences between the arms, and those little tiny differences when it comes with new bushes make these arms really hard to install. Everything's really tight and you've got multiple different arms on this hub, so they're all pulling the hub in a different direction and it is quite hard to install. So I had to get another helping hand from Steve just to pull the hub back so I could get the bolt in on that subframe bush. But with the new lower control arm on and the rest of the subframes and the arms rust treated and painted, and we actually put some Hammerite under seal over the top of them as well, and this is what the final product looks like, which is a huge difference compared to how it was before.
Finally, with that done, we can get the wheels, drop it on the floor, and we can put on the fuel filter, put some new fuel in it and take it for a drive.
Now, annoyingly, I don't have any matching 224 4018s. I only have odd ones, and I do have a set of matching, but one of them is pretty ruined. So, with this being all-wheel drive, you always want at least both axles to have the same tyre on, same tread, same brand, because you can cause issues, diff issues, or Haldex issues, and four-wheel drive issues and stuff like that. So, I'm definitely going to probably just order 2 new ones off eBay, because on eBay you can get tyres like 2 for 80 quid. It just makes it look better when you've got 2 matching tyres on the car instead of throwing on some second-hand part 1s that aren't even matching. So we're going to order them. For the time being, I'm going to put the old wheels back on the car because we can drive on those in the unit outside. But definitely before we get it for its MOT, we're going to be putting on 2 new tyres. Now I hate doing tyres, so I am going to do that off camera when they turn up. But for now, wheels on. Let's jack it up because I can't access the fuel filter with it on the ramp. Now, as you can see, it is running really rough, and I genuinely do think that mostly this is caused by the bad fuel and a really old fuel filter. So we've got to change these pretty quickly. But to access the fuel filter, it's actually right under the sill on this side. So getting to it's a bit of a pain.
So the fuel filter is just here. Now, it's not going to be a good start because this is rotten and rounded. So you're going to have to get a new Jubilee. Right, I got it off. That was a bit of a bitch, but look at this. This is going to make you laugh. You ready? Look at the state of that. Black.
Now, with the new fuel filter on and around 10 litres of new petrol, it's time to start it up and see if that's made any difference.
Now, ideally it needs a lot more fuel than that. Ideally it needs about half a tank, but I don't have half a tank here, so we're going to fire it up. There is an engine light, so we're going to double check what that engine light is. We have had a lot of stuff off. Instantly that starts and runs 10 times better. Really struggling earlier. Handbrake works. Can you get it even on the ramp? The brakes still don't work at all. And listen to how much smoother that sounds. There was a bit of a tapping, which I'm not sure what it was really. Probably oil pressure not being up to the tappets and stuff. But just for that new fuel, it's running 10 times better. So we're going to get the scanner on, see what that code is, and I feel like the brakes might be bad just because the discs are full of shit. The discs are actually okay on the front, they've just been sat for a while, so they really need to go through some cycles of cleaning them up, and the way we can do that is by going out and pressing the brakes.
Now, there is still a tiny misfire, but I'm 99% sure that is from the O2 sensor, so we've got to basically order a new one of them. Now, I have just got it up in the air and I'm just doing some left foot braking, just trying to clean those discs up a little bit. But what I've found is that the left side or the right side of the wheel keeps stopping because I think it's basically an open diff on the front. So the only thing we've got to do is get it outside and actually take it for a spin.
Here we go. First drive. Now I've got to be careful because I definitely don't have any brakes. Well, I do, they're like right at the bottom. So I kind of do, kind of don't. I think they need another bleed again, but I'm going to go down here and just clean them up. But hey! Our release bearing has stopped whining as well, which is great news. Like, it's really not whining at all. I think it was just a bit rusty, you know. Now all I want to do is I want to just keep dabbing the brake, just trying to get them front discs cleared up a bit.
Now the power steering fluid is low, so that's what that noise is coming from, so don't worry about that.
So they work, but they're very spongy, so I think that they might need another bleed. So in terms of how the car drives, it actually drives really well. Suspension feels really good, the bushes feel really good, it feels solid. It really does feel like, even like over these little bits here, they feel horrible in my E30 going over them. The coolant's sitting around 90 as well, which is awesome, and we're definitely a bit down on power. It's getting better. Like the first run I did was like sluggish as anything. It's definitely getting better, so I think since we pushed that fuel through, that dirty fuel, it's still going to be sat in the lines, it's still going to be sat in the fuel lines, and ideally really got to do, you know, a full tank really, or at least half a tank and flush it all through. But stick some fuel in it and we're gonna have to get a lambda sensor. That's probably not helping the fact that it's down on power as well. It has no idea what fuel to put in right now because the bank one sensor is all over the place. This has been probably the worst car I've done so far. It just needs so much, you know. You think it's a good idea buying these cars that have been off the road for so long because it's a good storyline and stuff. But ultimately, you know, this is the first time I've bought a car which has been off the road for this long, and it's needed so much. Like, when you think about how much it's actually needed, it's absolutely crazy, and the profit in it is not going to be a lot. So I've just, thankfully, we had, you know, so many of them parts in the bit. I've got under seal all over my hair. That's why it's like this. But ultimately, I don't know if it's going to be worth it in the end. I don't even know how much he's going for this, but it's had so much done. New timing belt, new water pump, all the new arms, rear arms, front arms, drop links, fuel filters. It's had loads done, and it's only on 110,000, which is actually quite good for a car of this year. So we're going to pull it inside.
But yes, there's a couple more things that we need to do. We need to sort the brakes out, and we need to get that lambda sensor ordered. But before we pull it inside, I want to give this car a clean, something it's probably not had in over 10 years. And let's see if we can get this Audi looking almost brand new and end this video on a high. So after a quick jet wash and a quick soap and rinse, which for some reason I completely forgot to film, the car is looking shiny. But we're going to pull it inside and we're going to get the DA polisher out. We're going to go over the whole car and just to see how good it actually does come up. Now, the first thing I always do is get some cutting compound and do the headlights. This honestly makes the car look 20 times newer, and after 2 passes, this is what the new one came out like compared to the old headlight.
Now, if I'm being honest, the car is looking really clean. I'm not going to lie, I'm quite surprised. Now, although it's super shiny, there's so much light scratches down the car, especially on the door. If you can just, you might just be able to see there's a couple there. Now, you won't be able to notice these outside. You've only really seen them because of the LED lights above. But, you know, we might see them in like a direct sunlight. So we're going to take a pass with the DA on this side, and it's going to get most of those little scratches out. Now, it's not going to make the car look show-worthy, but it just eliminates the fact of someone coming, trying to knock us down. You know, we want them first impressions to look good. If we have the whole car looking like this, then the first impressions are going to be insane. And right now, if you catch them in the light, you can see a fair amount of little scratches on the side here. So we're going to get the DA down this side. I'll probably do the whole car as well, because I usually always do it.
Every car I get, I always do a full polish. You know, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not a detailer, and yes, a detailer would do a much better job, but you can do this yourself. I got this polisher for £40 off Amazon, and it's basically transformed every car I've had.
Now, silver's quite a hard colour to tell, but look at the shininess and the fleck of the paint in that panel, and it kind of dulls down to the next one. So, and it's got rid of all of those little scratches in the door as well. This thing, one of the best things I ever bought. This is a final walk around to conclude this video. She's looking super shiny. So it's got like a yellow fleck, which I've never noticed before, and it looks unbelievable. So this door, super shiny. Done this door, done the rear boot lid, done the rear bumpers. The bumpers I don't take too much time on because they don't really clean up as nice as metal. And there's always kind of like cracks on bumper and stuff, so I don't take too long. But look at it here, taking, shining on all the reflections. I haven't done the roof yet either, just because again, it's not really a place. Some people, it catches your eye. But I've done this side, you can't really tell there's no lights over this side. Super shiny. Again, the bonnet, done the bonnet, nice and shiny. Look at that, beautiful, gosh. And then back round to the front.
So we've done a hell of a lot in this video. We just need to finish off a couple things next time. So in the next video, this car is going to be done and ready to be sold. And hopefully one of you guys will come and get it. But look at the front of this S3 now parked in the unit. It is a totally different car for when we first bought it. So we'll see you in the next video.